What's up, guys? It's Ben with 2020 election predictions, and today I'm going to look at a new feature that Real Clear Politics has rolled out. It's basically this feature that's comparing the 2020 poll numbers, and they've kind of sliced and diced that among various groups versus the 2016 poll numbers. So a lot of people like to compare the 2016 election to 2020 because there are a lot of similarities, but I also want to emphasize too that there are some differences. So one reason why I think this feature is very valuable is because sometimes the raw polling numbers don't really tell us a lot. So like right now, if you look at August 6, 2020, Biden is up by 6.4 percentage points. But if we look at the history, I mean, there were some polls in 2016 that had Hillary Clinton up by 10, 12, even when that was 13 points, like 3 months out, just like we are right now. But how much can we trust the polls now if they were so wrong in 2016? It definitely isn't a dumb question to ask. So one reason why I like this feature right now, or this feature right here, is because it compares where Donald Trump and where like Biden is compared to Hillary Clinton was in 2016. So if we look in October or like but before 2020 was even starting, um, we see that Biden was outperforming Donald Trump. And I think this is a lot to do with, like, I mean, you really can't trust the polls like 1 year out. And Biden wasn't really tested. And we saw that Biden outperformed everyone in the Democratic nomination when you put him compared against Trump. Where I think this will actually kind of get interesting is like once we get to March and after. So what is actually pretty surprising here is we see that like when the coronavirus hit, which was about like March 15th, we actually see that Trump is outperforming where he did in 2016. And I think this is a lot to do with not necessarily how Trump is doing, because you can see that Biden's lead was pretty stable against Trump between kind of this like March 15th up until kind of the early June, late May date. So it was pretty stable, but we can see where the main difference is with Hillary Clinton. I mean, Hillary Clinton in late March was up by 11.2 points versus Donald Trump. And Joe Biden has never even broke that point. I guess he got up to 10 points in mid June, but we can see that has come down. So Donald Trump has done better since he kind of hit his rock bottom. I think was kind of in mid June when there was a lot of social unrest. The riots were kind of hitting their peak, and then also coronavirus cases. So I think right now coronavirus numbers have stabilized. Obviously, that can change a lot, but I think kind of early July, late June was when Donald Trump hit rock bottom, and we see this evidence in the polls and the betting numbers and a lot of different things. And in 2016, I don't remember the exact numbers of this, but this is when Donald Trump kind of people realizing that he was going to become the Republican nominee, and like Ted Cruz was bashing him, Marco Rubio was bashing him. So I think what this poll represents is that there were a lot of people, a lot of Republicans who, when like asked in these polls, would not say that they were voting for Donald Trump. Even though Hillary Clinton was up by like 11 points here, she never really got over 50%, which was a huge red flag, I think, in hindsight, because Hillary Clinton never kind of had majority support overall. People didn't like Donald Trump, but people didn't like Hillary Clinton either. And we saw that at the end of the day, people broke for Trump for the people who didn't like both of them. What is pretty interesting now, though, is we can see that Biden was outperforming Hillary Clinton by 8.8 points, which doesn't mean a ton kind of in small sections, because you kind of want to smooth it out and look at the averages, because we can see that with like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So I guess this is where we were in terms like this was after the Republican convention, one of the few times where Donald Trump had the popular vote lead. And right now, just looking 4 years ago, we're right after the Democratic National Convention where Trump attacked the Muslim Gold Star parents. And this was not a great moment for the Trump campaign. And we saw that Trump's poll numbers declined. And when we continue to look at like this number, it will definitely be influenced, I think, more by the 2016 numbers, because the 2016 numbers we see were a lot more volatile than the 2020 numbers. We see that Joe Biden has a fairly stable lead between, I would say, like 5 and 9 points. But what is very interesting now is like before, when Donald Trump was doing so horribly, right now Donald Trump is in the exact same spot he was in 2016 in terms of the popular vote numbers. And I think this is very, very interesting because obviously the polls have Donald Trump losing to Joe Biden right now. But if we look at the snapshot in time, Donald Trump is exactly where he was 4 years ago. He's the underdog again. I think people want to say he was the underdog like in January, February, but now he's the underdog again. And we have 90 days until the election. There's still a lot of time. When we look at the battleground states, it's pretty similar. We can see kind of the transformation here, I think, a lot. Kind of in June is when these numbers kind of went south for Donald Trump. So Donald Trump was doing a lot better, even when the coronavirus started to hit in the battleground states. And this is because I think that some of the polls have changed their methodology. The polls were very wrong in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, like by 5 or 6 points. We saw some polls in Wisconsin as late as like May, I think, that had like Donald Trump tied with Joe Biden. There were no such polls in 2016. So I definitely think that the pollsters have improved, but we can see that Donald Trump has improved from his like 4-point deficit from where he was in 2016 to only being 1 point down in the battlegrounds. And as I've said that before, the battlegrounds are a lot more important than the popular vote overall. The popular vote, honestly, is not very relevant at all. But if we want to see Donald Trump have a chance of winning, I think we're going to have to see this number go in Trump's direction. The comparison of the 2020 election to the 2016 election. And obviously, if Trump is up in this comparison, he's still going to be down in the aggregate polls. So even if Trump does become positive in this, I think people will still predict that Biden will win. But I think Trump will have a lot better shot. And we can see this is pretty similar between Trump and between Biden and Clinton. They both held pretty steady leads. So not a lot has changed. You can see overall the trends are a little different. So Biden started out with a smaller lead, but it's gained. And Clinton started out with a higher lead, but it's declined. So maybe we could argue that Trump was trending more in the right direction in 2016 than he was in 2020. Lastly, I want to look at the favorability ratings. And this is pretty interesting. So this is not your approval ratings, but this is how favorable you think each candidate is. So when you compare Donald Trump to Hillary Clinton, they were both pretty unfavorable candidates, and I wish it gave a breakdown of how unfavorable they are, because what is actually pretty interesting is Biden's favorability, like at this point, is a lot higher than Hillary Clinton's was, and Donald Trump's favorability is actually higher than it was in 2016. This isn't approval numbers, this is favorability. And the reason why Donald Trump's favorability has increased is because Donald Trump has consolidated more of his GOP base. So in 2020, the GOP, the voter base, and even kind of the politician base in the House and the Senate, they are more consolidated around Donald Trump than they were in 2016. If we look at where Donald Trump's favorability was on election day in 2016, it was about like 37%, and he still ended up winning like 46% of the vote. And when we look to 2020, his favorability ratings are about 42 or 43%, and they've been pretty steady throughout his presidency. And we've seen the favorability ratings approach the approval ratings, so people don't really differentiate those now, and I don't really think there's much of a difference either. But if we look at the numbers now, Trump is actually doing better than he was in 2016 in terms of the favorability ratings. What this doesn't show is that Clinton's favorability dropped when it came to election day. So I believe on election day, this number was within smaller single digits. So definitely Donald Trump's going to have some work to do to get this number under 10 at least, because Joe Biden is poll after poll shows that he has a close to a net positive favorability rating. And this is because Joe Biden just isn't threatening as a figure. And one struggle that the Trump campaign is going to have to do is kind of show or try to present Joe Biden as a more radical figure than people think he was. Because if we look at the numbers in 2016, people thought Hillary Clinton was more of a radical candidate than Donald Trump. And I think Donald Trump's going to have a hard time doing that come in 2016 or in 2020. So I really hope that y'all like this video. I think it's really interesting, and it's a very smart thing to do to compare the 2020 and 2016 numbers. I'm going to do a video in the future kind of comparing what is different about 2020 and 2016. I'm kind of going to list some reasons in my next video. So please watch that and give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification. So I'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for watching this video.